Hi to all my Buddhist friends. Namaste. Yeah, that means greetings to you. I decided to make this perspective of the novella that I made called Maya from the Waters. To bring to you some things that maybe you do not know. Okay? Let's talk about suffering. Let's talk about Siddhartha Gautama, known as Buddha. Okay? Siddhartha Gautama, as you know, was a Nepalese young man. He was a prince. Yeah, he lived in a palace. At a certain age, I think 29 years, he started to question things. He started to question why should we have pain? Why things cannot be fixed for the good of all? Actually, very useful questions he had. Things that came to his mind based on, I think, in a certain way, a pure heart. He wanted others also to be happy. No? But Siddhartha Gautama was born about 430 before Christ. No? And in that time, everything that Buddha questioned, especially regarding suffering, that he built some teachings called the Four Noble Truths that I presented in the novella. It's all related to suffering of man, to suffering of woman, and how you can avoid those sufferings. But in that time that he was alive, there was already God have spoken to another person before Buddha, much earlier than Buddha, called Abraham. Abraham was a man from Canaan, and that he also had a family of that had pagan gods. Okay? But Abraham did not follow the pagan gods from the moment he did something that scripture said later, which is, you shall find me when you find me with all your heart. So Abraham did find God because he read the Bible. No, the Bible was not even written. It started actually after him and was printed in our days. So there was no such thing as the book Bible. What it was, testimonies, experiences written down in scrolls, okay? And a lot of the experiences of Abraham was written by Moses. But that friendship between Abraham and the Creator was born and matured, and he kept that path according to God was revealing to him, because he did seek him only, directly. God searched people's heart and see the intentions of the heart and meet the right intention. So Abraham did seek God. He didn't come with full of pagan gods behind his back and try to find God. No. He found God by seeking God alone. if there was a God. God revealed himself to him in many ways. Never physically. Nobody ever has seen God. But he spoke to his heart things that he knew was God. Why? Because when they were fulfilled after his obedience, he could see that really God was talking to him. So it was purely by faith, something called faith, that Siddhartha Gautama did not receive, because Siddhartha Gautama was from a Hindu family, okay? In Nepal, India, Pakistan, all these places, Hinduism was very active for 4,000 years. Since 4,000 years. And he had all the baggage of those beliefs. For example, the practice in Buddhism of reincarnation, that comes from Hinduism, okay? So it was not a special enlightenment he received. It was something that already existed in his midst. Karma, it's something like if you do evil go back to you, okay? And that existed already in Hinduism, okay? But the thing is, the confusion about what is evil, the first evil, and it cannot be replaced with something else a man can commit, is to depart from God, to depart from what is good, because God is love. So that's the first evil, but I don't want to go deeper in this now. Another practice, Dharma, is the meditation. Meditation to free your mind. Free your mind without, it's not a prayer. It's simply, you give a place for deities to rule over you, rule in you some things, give you enlightenment, but some kind of wisdom. And not every wisdom is good wisdom, okay? Who gives enlightenment and wisdom when you don't seek God? Satan and Satan himself. These meditations, the same practice, okay? In Hinduism is called moksha. And in Buddhism called nirvana. Now, when he had those nirvana, another thing that it's a similar practice also, to avoid meat. Why? To not kill the animal. That is a very, very strong practice in Hinduism, and it was taken to Buddhism. Yeah, but this is a practices that he kept for himself, not as a real teaching. The real teachings, he just said 4. Yes, on the 4th he opened to 8 more steps, but it's related to suffering. Siddhartha Gautama made any miracles, presented some signs. From what I searched, he duplicated himself. But is that a sign that God was with him? I'm sorry if that offends you, okay? But I want to show you some examples so you can compare yourself. Every time God has given the power to a man or a woman to make a miracle, when God was involved, okay? That miracle was to benefit someone else. For example, Jesus. The miracles Jesus did was not to show whom he was. The miracle he did was to stop suffering in someone's life. For example, people were hungry. There we go, bread and fish. Yes, the wine finished in the wedding. He had compassion on them, turned the water into wine. And he actually kept a secret. He didn't want some people to know. Healed somebody from a permanent disease. Things like this was for the good of somebody. You know, the scriptures Jesus spoke about men presenting signs and wonders, but denying, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Everyone also that walks with Satan and has his wisdom, if it was not like this, black magic would not succeed. Witchcraft would not succeed. All these present some kind of supernatural thing, but it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. Or deceive you to come to their side, or it gives you some good for a very high price. The high price is always the same, your soul. So that's how you can identify the character of God and the character of something that's not related to God. Buddha was completely atheist. Did he not believe in any gods? Yes, he did. Okay, it's associated. He came from Hinduism, and Hinduism has thousands and thousands of gods. Hinduism has lots and lots and lots of gods. But the thing that attracted people to Hinduism is because they don't need to be faithful to those gods. They can have many gods, wisdom a little bit from this one, from that one, from that one. But I don't need to serve none of them faithfully as God demands, as the Creator demands. Service to God has nothing to do with lighting a candle or putting offering food that he created under his altar or something. The sacrifice to God is something high that most people are not willing to pay. And that's love. Love for him and love for one another. That's a price that people doesn't want to pay. It's easier to release love for a bloodline family, like son and daughter, father, mother. But when it comes to a spouse after 10 years, things becomes a little, okay? Otherwise, we will not have so many divorces, no? Or murdering spouse, things like this. In Ecclesiastes, in the Bible was already some texts in the hands of who? The hands of the Jews, yeah? Why, you can question, but the Jews could be lying too. God spoke to the first people on earth was the Jews. Why? Because they are the bloodline of Abraham, descendants of Abraham. And Abraham did seek God genuinely. He did. He wanted to find God. And then the experiences and the miracles God was doing, wonders for the good, was written down. And Nepal, Pakistan, India didn't know none of these. None of these. All they had were their thirst and that hunger for somebody more powerful to be protecting them or giving something good for them. We all have that hunger. And when we don't have that hunger, we make ourselves our own gods, called pride. But we were born with that hunger for a father, hunger for someone to take care of us. That's a design. That is a design. And when the Nepalese and the Indians and the Pakistanis did not find that, did not seek God genuinely, they had no experiences with God. So they made their own gods. Siddhartha Gautama had the hunger. Why? He was a rich man, but with something in his heart calling out for the Creator. And he did not know. Why God could not reveal himself to Siddhartha Gautama? God did search Siddhartha Gautama's heart and decided not to reveal himself to him the way he revealed himself to Abraham. And Abraham put it down. Every pagan god that his family have made. Yeah? But Siddhartha Gautama didn't do that. Actually, he blended everything. In those practices, he has, for example, the yoga I showed you, the signs of the hands, all these things, honor a deity. And God is speaking through the prophets. He said that if you offer something to other gods that is not the real God, you're offering to demons. You are offering things to demons. And what the demons really want to do with your life? Look at the life of Maya, for example. Maya was in some way a genuine lady. She wanted to do what was right. She wanted to do what was right, and she needed to seek from a source, the only source she knew, that was teachings of Buddha. So in every doubt, in every pain, in every suffering, she did check what Buddha says about this, what Buddha says about that. She wanted something. And in the fiction, it happens just like in the real life. Okay? God tried to rescue many times. Many times. He tried to rescue from deceit, by putting in your heart, because it's already in your heart his laws. He said he would write in our hearts his laws. For example, do not steal, do not kill, do not commit adultery. Yes, things like this. You feel bad, but you don't even know why. You feel bad, but as you don't have any argument to do not do, you don't find in your religion a consequence for it, so then you go deeper. You go deeper into it. Or find excuses to do that, like Maya did. But all those laws was already given by God himself before Siddhartha Gautama was born. Before Siddhartha Gautama was born, the 10 Commandments were given. And suffering was already ordained by God. Why? Because of disobedience of man towards him. You know, in the book of Genesis, that's the first written before Siddhartha Gautama was born. It was written by Moses. He talks here about the fall, no? And then he says, Now, in chapter 3, now the serpent was more crafty than any wild animal the Lord God had made, and said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? I want to go to the verse that talks about okay. The woman said to the serpent, we may eat from the trees of the garden, but God did say you must not eat from the tree that is in the midst of the garden. You must not touch it, or you will die. God ordained death for a price of disobedience. The answer, it was already there. It was already there. Siddhartha Gautama believed in this. No, because he never heard this. Yeah? Genesis have never arrived in his hands. Never. It was never shared with him. The only thing I can say that was his big mistake was to go seek God with other gods. Then that will not happen. That doesn't happen. If God sees your heart deceived but having the right intention to find him, he will reveal himself to you. And that will happen with you in 2022 if you do that. He will reveal things to you, and it will be even more easier than was with Abraham, because a lot of scriptures have been written by people that even prophesied things we live today. One of the things that can block a Buddhist to believe in the Bible is that they assume that it's just another religion. They don't assume that is the inspired word of the Creator to us, just because man has printed out or written some King Solomon of Israel, when he started his relationship with God, Solomon, he spoke a lot about pleasure. The same things that Siddhartha Gautama also spoke, but he said it was vanity. Why? He had everything he ever wanted, and was still not enough. It was still some emptiness, some void. Doesn't that happen with you if you're a rich person? I don't have very rich friends, but if you have more than 2 cars, I think you're mega rich. Anyway, in the end of the book Ecclesiastes 12, he says the whole duty of man, the verse 14. Let us hear a conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. So Abraham had the same choice as Siddhartha Gautama. He could have gone after God with other gods, but he put those man gods down and went to seek him alone. Okay? That's my encouragement to you. The words of Jesus, of course, Siddhartha Gautama did not experience either. Why? Because the New Testament was written in the year 100 or 85 after Christ. But in the time of Siddhartha Gautama, there was already a promise of a Messiah coming. A Messiah coming fulfilled in the life of Jesus, with the same characteristics of that Jesus came to the earth, the fulfillment of everything. There was so many other prophecies written before about the rulers of the world, things like this. God doesn't leave you unattended full of doubts. He gives plenty of information of history, of things that will happen. The book of Daniel speak about that. And whenever God gives the power to somebody execute a miracle, it's for the good of somebody else. It's to serve someone else, to heal someone from something they cannot free themselves. Yeah. If you have any comments about and questions to do to me, or criticism also, you're welcome to do it. I hope, I know Maya did not have a very good end, and none of us can have a good end by casting out the real God off. It doesn't matter how many circles you can't, it's a big lie that the way of the suffering, it is to reborn. You know, to God is not reincarnation. You don't come back in the form of something else. You will, if you are His, He promised something back to life. You will resurrect for everlasting life, or for condemnation, His condemnation. And resurrection, you will resurrect the way you are, the way in your body, your soul. You don't come back in someone's life. Yeah, this is all giving out ways for you to continue the life you want to have it, have alternatives and hope without responding to Him. Yeah. So I'm sorry if I offended someone with this. Okay, that's not my intention. My intention is that you find the real God and do not do the same as Siddhartha Gautama. I spoke a lot, but I didn't speak about the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths is about suffering. First, all beings experience suffering. That was not new for Moses when he wrote Genesis, because God ordered death or the suffering. God created everything without suffering, but disobedience to God generated suffering. And for Buddha, the answer for a non-suffering is to deny every form of wish, to not desire anything. God taught something else. He said to desire good things. Good things are never selfish things. Good things does not need to break anybody else to make you to live. Yes, it's just to live like Jesus lived. If you live like Jesus lived, you're doing God's will. Jesus did not deprive himself even from a good wine in a wedding. Yes, he ate the lamb. He created the animals. He ate the lamb, didn't he? He served the whole time. He did not invest his life on making himself big, his name big, after the money. He spoke a lot about money. So if we want to please God, we have to imitate his son, to imitate the Messiah that he spoke that he would come before Siddhartha Gautama was born. Okay, think about this. And If Maya knew about, believed actually, because Luna tried to talk to her, but she didn't want to hear, she didn't want to listen, she didn't want to test. That's the thing. You're not gonna be judged for, now my personal opinion, okay? I don't think God would charge you for you not knowing the truth, but because you heard something about him, and did not test. You ignored the feelings you have in your heart of this emptiness, something that can be filled only with him, and instead you decided to emerge into what is wrong in his eyes. You had pleasure in what is wrong. Something that Buddha also said about rebirth, yes. In the second Noble Truth, he says, the origin of suffering due to desire for pleasure, existence and non-existence. When he induces you to believe in rebirth, is not planting you the desire to have your life again, is not the existence, desire. That's actually not a sin, you know. Jesus gave us a hope that through him we will live again, we will resurrect. So that's not a sin. But to Buddha, any wishes, being good or bad, it's wrong. God created man to live with him and to enjoy the things he provided for him. There's nothing wrong with that. The sin really is that you forsake him, you forsake his gifts, and try to rule your own life according to your own will. That is the thing, yeah. If Maya knew faith in God, if she knew the love of Jesus, she would sing a song, this song.